What is it that makes the all-new Hyundai Palisade Hybrid an incredible SUV? Is it the spacious interior that's comfy for the whole crew? Or the capability to go off-road? Maybe it's up to 600-plus miles of range? What if it's all of that and more? What is it then? The all-new Hyundai Palisade Hybrid. Is it the driver behind the wheel? No. Are you sure? The all-new Hyundai Palisade Hybrid. So much more than just another SUV. Visit HyundaiUSA.com or call 562-314-4603 for more details.
Now, The Hunt Palmer Show.
This is a catastrophe.
You are now listening to The Hunt Palmer Show. Brought to you by Renaissance Homes and Pools on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
That's what I wished for when I blew out my candle.
Locking down the middle of the day. Live from downtown Baton Rouge. This is Hunt Palmer.
The floor is yours.
Welcome in. Hunt Palmer coming to you from the downtown Baton Rouge studio on this Wednesday, brought to you by Renaissance Homes and Pools. Got Jacob Beck, Cassie Spazzali back there on the ones and twos. That half the work week in the rearview mirror. Appreciate you hanging out with us on 104.5 ESPN. Lots to do on this Wednesday, as is tradition. We'll get to What If Wednesday here in about 30 minutes. LSU's baseball schedule has been released. We'll talk a little bit about that. Graham Holt from Swamp 24/7 here, talk about the Florida Gators, specifically a couple of injuries that I want to get his thoughts on. For sure, we have to get an update on probably the biggest injury of the week on both sides. That's Caleb Banks. Defensive lineman for Florida. I want to get thoughts on that. And then I'm not 100% sure TJ Lagway is healthy either. So we'll talk to Graham Hall about that at the top of hour number 2. JD Piquelt with us in hour number 2 as well. He'll be at 2:15. Our SEC football power rankings coming up at 2:30. So we got a lot to get into over the course of the next 2 hours. Let's get it cranked up the way we do every single day. That's with our Genesis opening drive.
It's time for Hunt's opening drive, presented by Genesis of Baton Rouge.
So the news of the last 24 hours, which is a little bit dated from that time perspective because it was about 22 hours ago when it happened, is Sydir Mitchell has been separated from the LSU football program, dismissed, walked away, kicked off the team. However you want to phrase it, Brian Kelly today confirmed on the SC teleconference that he is no longer with the football program. So the terminology moving forward doesn't really matter. It's just that he's not part of the football program. And this was not stunning news based on what we've seen spring, summer, fall games. Okay? Mitchell came in the spring to play for Bo Davis, who recruited him to Texas. Then Bo Davis left, and Mitchell worked out in the spring. And then they brought in Bernard Gooden and Kyle Williams. And then we went out there to camp, and Sydir Mitchell was working with the 2s and 3s. And he didn't play in the first game. He didn't play in the second game. So that sequence of events comes into play for one coach. That coach leaves. New coach comes in. They go into the portal to get another defensive tackle. You go out to fall camp, and he's working with 2s and 3s. He doesn't play in the first 2 games. It's not a promising track for Sydir Mitchell to impact this LSU football team. You couple that with the fact that at Texas, as a true freshman, he played in 4 games and made 3 tackles. And then last year as a redshirt freshman, he only played in 5 games and made 4 tackles. He made a tackle against Texas San Antonio, made a couple against Florida, 1 against Kentucky, and that was all he did in 2 years at Texas. Now, he was playing for loaded defensive lines at Texas. That group that Bo Davis had put together, cultivated, and developed was really, really good, but he didn't have a huge impact at Texas. He was not coming in with the credentials of some of the other transfers that LSU had. And I think that's really the biggest story here, because I think how LSU moves forward without Sydir Mitchell. They've done it for 2 games. They've done it without Sydir Mitchell. He was not someone we counted on to be a big impact here. But he's a miss in this transfer portal class. There aren't a lot of them. Look at the defense. Bernard Gooden, he plays. He's an impact guy. On the edge, Patrick Payton, impact guy. Helped force a turnover in the game at Clemson. On the field against Tech, Jack Pyvern, impact guy. Jamari Butler, I know he got hurt on Saturday, but he's a guy that's going to play a lot. You look at the corners. Mansour Delane's your best corner. Jakeem Jackson hasn't gotten to the field, but Delane's been your best guy. And then you look at the secondary. Beyond them, Tamarcus Cooley, plays, starts. A.J. Halsey plays, starts. On offense, Braylon Moore starting center. Josh Thompson starting right guard. You look out wide, Barryon Brown, pretty big piece to what they're doing on the outside. Nick Anderson caught a touchdown last week. I wouldn't suggest he's been a guy that we've seen a ton of in fall, but game 2, he scores a touchdown. So the hit rate in this portal class is extremely high. And this is just one of those that's a miss. And we've talked about the fact that we believe that Bo Davis wanted to bring in more size on the defensive interior. That's generally been his MO. When he was at Alabama, they had huge guys on the interior. When he was at Texas, they've had huge guys on the interior. And he was starting that process at LSU. And Kyle Williams is not built like that. Kyle Williams has talked about what he wants to see from his defensive linemen. And Blake Baker came on these airwaves on the morning show with Jake and Matt and talked about what he wants out of his defensive linemen. And they want guys that get up the field. They want guys that are disruptive. They want havoc. They want tackles for loss. They want sacks. They want pass rush. They want hurries. And 360-pound defensive tackles don't give you a lot of that. That is not to suggest that 360-pound defensive tackles are worthless. There are plenty of defenses that use those to their advantage. There aren't a lot of those guys walking the planet that can do it. But if you get a really good one, absolutely, there's a spot for him. But Kyle Williams wants guys that look like Ahmad Bro. He wants guys that look like Bernard Gooden. There aren't a lot of guys that look like Dominic McKinley, but he'll take those guys as well. He wants active, quick, violent in the backfield. And that just doesn't really fit what Sydir Mitchell is. Now, I'm not here to tell you that Sydir Mitchell is no longer with the team because he didn't fit Kyle Williams' plan. Brian Kelly addressed it today on teleconference and said there are standards that have to be met in any business, in any industry, and if they're not met, then there'll be consequences, and the standards were not met. What that is, I don't know. It's early in the school year. Feels like that is unlikely, but I'm not going to speculate on it. But the standards weren't met, so they're going to move on. But where that position over the last 3 years could not sustain any attrition, you've got depth now. Like when you lost Tank Guillory last year in week 2, it was a nightmare. You had to then take Gio Paez from the edge and put him down inside and keep him there. He was going to be versatile for you. You had to take Paris Shand, who was severely undersized, bring him inside to play. And those guys are great teammates and great Tigers and unselfish players. And they went down there and they handled their business. They weren't All-Americans. They weren't all-conference players. LSU wasn't a great defense last year, but they did what they were asked to do. But there's a difference between having undrafted players play out of position and quote-unquote do what they have to do and playing championship football. And championship football is not finding undrafted players to go plug a gap because that's what you got. Championship football is cultivating talent, developing it, building depth behind it, and dominating. And that's what LSU needs to strive for, and that's what they're far closer to today, even without Sydir Mitchell, than they were 2 years ago, than they were 3 years ago. They just fell apart on the defensive line in terms of recruiting, retention, development, and churning guys out. Like, yeah, you had 2 guys make the NFL. Mekhi Wingo made the NFL and made a roster, and Mason Smith made the NFL and made a roster. But when those guys were asked to play, you didn't have anything behind them. It was 2 years ago. They were it. That's not a way to play championship football either. Now, you've got Bernard Gooden. You've got Dom McKinley. You've got Ahmad Bro. You've got Tank Guillory. You're getting snaps from a true freshman on this team at defensive tackle. I would suggest most LSU fans are not even aware at this point. It's only been 2 games, but are probably not even aware at this point that Walter Mathis, the freshman from Georgia, has played in both games. He played against Clemson and he played against Tech. He's 6'2", 285 pounds, and he's in a great position because I just mentioned 4 upperclassmen who are productive players who were ahead of him, and he just comes in and gives you 8-9 snaps a game. That is a perfect spot for a freshman defensive tackle to be in. Not, hey, need you to come play now. Not, hey, defensive end, I need you to come now play inside because we had an injury. LSU is in a very, very healthy spot for this season with their defensive tackle group. Now, you're going to lose Jacoby and Guillory after his 6th year, and you're going to lose Bernard Gooden. But you got Bro and McKinley, who were second-year players, and then you've brought in a crop of defensive tackles behind them, and Walter Mathis and Brandon Brown and Zion Williams, and you hope that those guys become the next, group of really good players. But that's a healthy way to put this thing together. So, yeah, it's disappointing anytime a player leaves the team, gets dismissed from the team, however you want to phrase this. And Sydir Mitchell is a big, big, big dude who was a 4-star recruit, who was brought on to help the University of Texas and LSU. Those are 2 big boy programs. But you've now created an infrastructure that can allow that to happen because you've brought in talent, retained a lot of talent, and developed it. So now you've got depth. So this is, to me, not an impactful thing at all for the 2025 LSU football season. There would have to be multiple more injuries or defections for this to be significant for this team. And that's a credit to what Bo Davis started, what Kyle Williams has done, and what the players that are still on the team have put into the bucket to this point. So, always disappointing when a college student, loses that kind of opportunity. We'll see what happens for Sydir Mitchell in the future. But for LSU, getting ready for Florida, getting ready for Ole Miss, getting ready for South Carolina, Alabama, Oklahoma, not really a story for this team because of the situation that position group is in right now. That's our Genesis opening drive here on this Wednesday. Our show is brought to you by Renaissance Homes and Pools. Looking to get into the pool of your dreams? Joey Blanchard and Renaissance Homes and Pools can help you out. Check out the website, builtbyrenaissance.com, builtbyrenaissance.com. Let's take a time out. When we come back, Saints have had a season-ending injury. I think you can find a positive in it if you look hard enough. That's next.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
Renaissance Homes and Pools brings you our Wednesday shows, but I'm here to tell you about Genesis of Baton Rouge at this point. Got to read the old live sheet correctly. Genesis of Baton Rouge. You can find the inventory at genesisofbatonrouge.com. Every car that is on the lot is online at genesisofbatonrouge.com. And I think that's important. In the society that we live in right now, everything is online delivery based. Like, you get your toilet paper, toothpaste, clothes, everything just gets sent to your front door. Well, you can shop for cars like that. I don't know if it's the way I would do it, but everybody's different. You want to shop online, you want to look at vehicles, and you say, well, I got to test drive it too, but I don't really want to go to the dealership. That's okay. Genesis will come to you. They'll bring you one of their brand ambassadors. You get behind the wheel of the car. If you decide, yep, this is the one I want. E-contract is available for you. They'll deliver the vehicle to you. You never have to set foot on the lot. It's a convenience that you come to know and love about Genesis of Baton Rouge. And once you make that purchase, your maintenance is like that as well. They'll come to you, bring you a loaner, bring your car back, get it serviced, bring it right back to you. You never miss a beat. Genesis of Baton Rouge. Find them online, genesisofbatonrouge.com, genesisofbatonrouge.com.
You're listening to The Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Renaissance Homes and Pools.
To What If Wednesday here in our next segment. If you've got some what ifs in the Bayou Ford chat, want to fire those at us, we will be taking them. You can also hit me up on Twitter at HuntPalmer88. We'll get to those in our next segment. JD McKell in our number 2. I teased at the end of the last segment about a potential positive in an injury, and that's radio lingo. There's no positive in someone getting hurt, right? Like, that's a bad deal. And Julian Blackmon's injury in week 1 sucks. He's a guy the Saints kind of found on the scrap heap a little bit. And then he came into camp and you're like, this guy can play. Earns a spot and played really well when he was on the field. And then you find out after he went home, according to Kellen Moore, that he tore his labrum and is going to miss the entire season. And that is just awful. And so Julian Blackmon will rehab and hope that he comes back and can forge his path in the NFL, hopefully in New Orleans. He's a really good player. But the fact remains that the Saints now have to play without him. And the fact remains that Tyrann Mathieu retired a couple months ago. So your proven depth at safety is a little bit thin, right? So when I point to a potential positive, it's a relative in terms of speaking. Like, I think that you have a chance to maybe find something that you wouldn't have found had Blackmon played the entire year. Now, the two obvious answers to fill in for him, aside Justin Reed, are Jordan Howden and Jonas Sanker. Howden has been on the team for 2 years. He has played in 33 games, sorry. He started 11 times, and he's been a pretty productive player. He's not an all-pro. He's not a Pro Bowler. He hasn't been a star by any stretch, but he has been fairly productive. In his first year as a rookie in 2023, he made 43 tackles and had a sack. Last year, as a 24-year-old, he played in 17 games, had 4 starts, and he made 50 tackles. So that's reasonable production for a non-starter who's given you some quality reps. He can certainly play special teams. And he's young. You're talking about a guy that's 25 years old. I'm probably more intrigued with Jonas Sanker, though. And I hope that he's the guy. We understand that Howden's dealt with some health issues, and we'll see at what point he's ready to go, if that's this week or not. But Sanker is a guy you found in the middle rounds, in the third round. And while it is preseason, and I'm not here to just completely gas up preseason stats in Pro Football Focus rankings, he was good in the preseason. In the first game against the Chargers, his defensive grade was 78.2. Then in the second game against Jacksonville, 75.6. And in the third game against Denver, it was 72.1. All of his grades were between 72 and 78. That is really quality work. I get it. It's preseason, but that is quality work. And the other part of it is, it's not a tiny sample size. It's not like, oh, we played 8 snaps. He graded 76. Like, that's pretty good. He played 151 snaps in the preseason. He was really productive at Virginia. And the game wasn't too fast for him in the preseason. So what have I always been saying for the last year and a half, right? I'm looking at the next great Saints team. Who can help me on the next great Saints team? As awesome as it was to see Cam Jordan notch a sack and a half, as awesome as it was to see Demario Davis played a 90 level on Pro Football Focus, can I really count on those guys to be really good players for the next great Saints team? I have my doubts. Maybe Demario Davis just beats Father Time for 3 more years, and I'm wrong. Happy to be so. Would be thrilled. But I'm looking for younger players. And if Julian Blackmon and Justin Reed are your starting safeties, Jonas Sanker and Jordan Howden are not going to get a huge opportunity to play. And so, while I would rather have those Reed and Blackmon, who are not old players, by the way, play for this Saints team to make them the best Saints team they could be, I think getting a look at these two guys, whichever way you want to slice it, you want to start Sanker, you want to start Howden, you want to split their reps, you want them to compete. Like, I'm not really partisan one way or another on which of these guys gets an opportunity or in what capacity, but they watch practice and I don't. I want to see one of these guys go. The Saints are in a position where a third-round pick probably needs to help you, and that's what Sanker is. And he's showing you the signs of someone who's going to help you in the preseason. So I'm going to take a negative, and the Blackmon injury is absolutely a negative, and kind of try to look at the positive. And if Sanker goes out there and balls out while he gets an opportunity, well, you're finding young building blocks on this team. The secondary is something we have talked about a lot with this Saints team, and the youth in this secondary that needs to form a real foundation to what the Saints are doing moving forward. I'm losing some faith in some of the offensive line pieces, Ruiz very much in particular. But in the secondary, like, it's Alontae Taylor, it's Kool-Aid McKinstry, it's Jonas Sanker, it's Jordan Howden. It's honestly, like, Blackmon's pretty young, Reed's pretty young. Like, that needs to be a foundation to what you're doing moving forward. None of it is important as the quarterback, but you've got some real opportunity here with some young players. So I feel terrible for Blackmon. But at the same time, I'm curious to see if Sanker can get this thing cooking, because we know this. This is indisputable. For the Saints to dig out of this hole, young, cheap players are going to have to emerge, likely from the draft. You can find an undrafted free agent here or there, yes. The Saints can make a trade here or there, yes. You will be able to sign some free agents over the next couple of years, yes. But the core of the team, the backbone of the team, and in my opinion, the future stars of this team, the Pro Bowlers on this team, are going to come from the draft. Because teams aren't very quick to part with Pro Bowlers in their 20s. And you don't find a lot of Pro Bowlers in the undrafted ranks. So the only way to get them is to draft them. Sanker, 3rd round pick, good preseason. Let's see it, man. Let's see it. I'm not asking him to play at a Pro Bowl level this week against San Francisco. I'm not asking him to play at a Pro Bowl level on the road at Seattle or on the road at Buffalo. But I am excited to give him a chance to go out there and see what he can do. These are some quality teams to get reps against. I don't know who the quarterback's going to be for San Francisco, but Christian McCaffrey's going to be running around out there. You want a welcome to the NFL? Go face Josh Allen's offense in a couple of weeks on the road. Let's see what you got. That's the beauty of the bottom of the rebuild. In its entirety, it sucks. As a fan, it sucks. Nobody wants to sit here and watch your team get beat and then come back on Monday and hear the talk show host go, oh, well, this got a little bit better, and I think this could be okay. And then all of a sudden you look up and you're 1-7. Like, that sucks. It sucks to read websites, whether it's Yahoo or ESPN or Pro Football Focus or Bleacher Report or The Athletic or whoever, and everyone does a power rankings and they have the Saints 31st. That sucks. But the positive of it, even though it's a sliver, is to be able to look at this and go, hey, we're going to give this guy a shot, and if it doesn't go great, okay. Like, no harm, no foul. A loss here or there on a given Sunday is not make or break for this team. It's not make or break for this franchise. And these are two guys who have shown some things, Howden in some productivity in non-starter duty and Sanker in the preseason, and none of those is exactly what you're looking for, but now's their shot. So these are the small positives that you're going to have to look for, and you might have to wait through some bad games by the quarterback and a first-year head coach screwing up timeouts at the end of a half, and you still got the same GM who a lot of people aren't confident in, and there's still some things, but some of these things can be positive on the field. And I'm excited to see what these guys can do in the back end of the Saints defense. I think there's a chance you've really got something. And these are the steps that have to happen to dig out of this disastrous roster situation that New Orleans has found itself in. So best wishes to Julian Blackmon. Hope that recovery is good, and hope he's back with New Orleans next year. But to me, as I look at it, Howden and Sanker, put your shoulder pads on. Let's go. Let's see what you got. And I'm excited to watch a little bit of that. Hopefully the Saints find something at safety there. Our black and gold coverage, Hunt on Saints on YouTube or wherever you find your podcast. Appreciate y'all for subscribing up to that channel and checking things out on YouTube. All those segments carved up in about 10, 12-minute digestible YouTube videos or podcast form videos. You can find them, Hunt on Saints. You're looking for your Saints coverage. Ross Jackson's also got you covered at LouisianaSports.net. We will step aside. Those of you in the Bayou Ford chat, throw them back way. All those you're looking at us on Twitter as well at Hunt Palmer 88. Though those our way. It's What Ifs for What If Wednesday next.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
One Bath and Closets. OneBathAndClosets.com is the website. David Vaughn and his team. 30 years redesigning and remodeling bathrooms and closets. You think redesign, remodel, big, expensive projects. Doesn't have to be. can be something pretty simple. Tub to shower conversion. Talked to David a couple of weeks ago. Said, how long do those take, generally speaking, tub to shower conversion from the time you come in, get rid of that old tub, put in that gorgeous walk-in shower? Like, how long are we talking? 3 to 5 days. You got 3 to 5 days to completely transform your bathroom, to make it completely different in terms of its functionality and its aesthetic, to go ahead and make sure that you're adding value to your home as well. You don't have to move to change your living situation. You just call One Bath & Closets, have David come in and put in that gorgeous shower. It's One Bath & Closets. You can get that free consultation, see pictures of their great work, and reviews from their satisfied customers at onebathandclosets.com. Onebathandclosets.com.
This is the Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Renaissance Homes and Pools.
Wednesday shows brought to you by Renaissance Homes and Pools, built by Renaissance.com, built by Renaissance.com. We got plenty to do over the next 90 minutes. LSU's baseball schedule is out for next year. I've got some thoughts. I actually looked at the schedule a little differently than a lot of folks. I saw a lot of folks on Twitter than the folks that cover the team were at player interviews yesterday for the football team, and had a couple people ask me about it. I have a little bit of a different thought, and I'll get to that coming up in 15 minutes. We'll talk to Graham Hall from Swamp 24/7 at 2 o'clock. He covers the Florida Gators. JD Piquel from On3 Sports here at 2:15. And the next edition of our SEC football power rankings coming up at 2:30. For right now, it's What If Wednesday.
Time, space, reality. It's more than a linear path. Where a single choice can branch out into infinite realities. Follow me and ponder the question. What if?
All right, first one here. What if you could earn double pay for the same hours or the same pay for half the hours?
Oh, that's easy for me.
It's very
I
easy.
realize I don't work 6 to 6 12-hour shifts here.
Yeah.
But I would easily take double pay for the same amount of hours.
Yeah.
But I feel like I've seen studies that suggest that my generation and younger, once the flexibility and time off, they don't care about
That is
money as
true.
much, which blows my mind.
Yes, but there also are a lot of studies finding, especially like in your other countries where they work 4 days a week, and they're typically more productive during those 4 days if they have the Friday off.
My wife wants a 4-day week. She says 5 days a week is too much, and I said if you worked 4 days, you would say that you wanted a 3-day week. She would just
well, you don't know
bump it
that.
down.
It's possible.
I feel pretty comfortable with it.
Okay.
She works very hard, does very well, but she would prefer not to go to work at all.
Well,
which I think a lot of people may be in
some
that
people
boat.
probably, yeah.
But yeah, for me, I'll take double the pay for. And the other part of this equation is like I write about, and talk about sports, which is the only thing I really care about.
Yeah.
A lot of people don't like their jobs at all, and I'm not in that boat, and maybe they would want to do it half as much. But yeah, I'll take double the pay for the same amount of hours.
All right, next one. What if someone makes a bad AP poll?
This has been amazing on the internet.
It has.
I mean, for those, I think everyone's pretty familiar, but those who haven't, there's an AP voter. I don't know her name. I don't care. I don't know who she works for. I don't care. I don't know who she writes, what paper or whatever she writes for. I don't care. None of it's important to me, and I don't know why it's important to so many people. But she had an AP poll that had some pretty glaring issues from week 1 to week 2. She moved Florida up after they lost to South Florida. They're ranked in front of South Florida. She's got, I think, Florida State ranked in front of Bama or behind Bama or something. Like, it doesn't matter. Why does anyone give a rip about the AP poll?
Because
like,
what
why?
else are they going to care about, Hunt?
The wins and losses, the playoff committee.
Yeah, but it's the ranking, Hunt. It's the ranking.
And like the AP, I looked this up today. The AP poll came to be in 1936 because no one could watch any games on TV. And so no one really had an informed opinion. So we just got all these writers together, and we didn't have a playoff system. So somebody had to determine who was the champ. So we let the Associated Press, who created the news, do that. Well, guess what? That was 90 years ago.
It was.
So let's just not worry about that. If they want to have an AP poll, great. I think it's phenomenal. If you waste 1 ounce of breath or time worrying where your team is or is not ranked in the Associated Press poll, you have wasted your time.
Well,
it's absurd. Who cares? It literally doesn't matter. We have a playoff. We have a committee that ranks teams. They don't use the AP poll in their criteria. The only thing that matters is what's next to your team on the scoreboard, which, oh, by the way, doesn't matter. So why is anyone complaining about this?
Hunt, you were just sorely underestimating people on Twitter and how much they like
amazing.
to get upset about things.
They love their team, and if you say something that is not exactly in line with what their team suggests, it's just you're just an idiot. I don't know how it's amazing how the internet operates.
It is.
And this blows my brain that we could spend this much. The internet was in a tizzy.
Oh yeah.
How do we fix this? You don't fix it. It's the AP poll. You just leave it. I don't even know what LSU's ranked in the AP poll. I cover the team. I have no idea.
They are number 3.
Number 3, great. That's fantastic work.
Yep.
That's really relevant on September the 10th.
It's going to matter for
amazing.
About,
people
one
have to dial back what they concern themselves with.
All right, next one here. What if Myers wants to be messy for Halloween?
That appears to not be in the cards because I think we purchased a Halloween costume last night.
Oh, all right, dang.
So it's not messy unless he plays football for LSU, in which case.
So that's all right.
Looks like we got an LSU football player. The Keller man is going as a football.
All right.
I really was impressed with my wife's ability to find that costume. It was $9.
Wait, he's an LSU player or just...
Myers will be an LSU player. Keller will be a football.
Oh, nice.
A brown onesie with laces on.
You know what? I am pretty sure that my daughter has the same exact onesie because it's also a football with white stripes on it, and she wore it a couple weeks ago.
I might. I have team issued gear, so if I throw it on, I can look like an LSU football coach. I don't know if we're going to get...
You get a headset.
I don't know if we're going to get my wife involved in the group costume there. It's possible, I guess, but she ain't putting a cheerleader jersey on like Michael Scott's realtor in The Office.
Yeah.
But I think that she got a chance to put on some purple and gold. But that would be that's a comfortable Halloween costume for me because they give me gear that I don't really deserve every single August. So I'll wear some of that.
All right, next one here. What if the deep ball doesn't emerge this season for LSU along with the running game?
Meaning it neither emerges?
Well, I think it's just like we need both.
Well, they didn't have either last year.
Yeah.
And if they don't have either this year, they'll lose 4 games. Like that's what that means. If your offense is solely predicated on hitting slant routes and out routes for 6 yards at a time, you can't win at a championship level. Now, they'll be better because they're better on defense, but you're just not going to win enough if you can't do those 2 things. I have my doubts about the running game. I have less doubts about the vertical game. Chris Hilton, Barryon Brown, Nick Anderson, and Aaron Anderson are going to hit some deep balls. It's a matter of time.
All right, next one here. What if you continued your basketball career and became a Hall of Famer in the NBA?
Who put that?
The LSU monster in the chat. Yeah. I mean, this has got to be one of the most far-fetched what ifs, obviously. But
yeah, I don't have a single requisite skill to play basketball at a Hall of Fame level.
Well, here's the thing, Hunt. I don't
have a single requisite physical attribute.
Well, that's the thing. You wouldn't have. It would not be from attributes. It would be. So here's what we'd have to do. You'd have to play a long time ago when the guys weren't as.
No, I would have to play against 5th graders. That's what I have to do.
Yeah, that's.
And
true.
I would dominate there.
Yeah, you would.
We play on Myers' little Fisher-Price goal sometimes. I can block some shots.
Of course.
Which he enjoys. He laughs when I do that, so I have to do it. I feel kind of bad, but I just swat it 50 yards back.
Well, if he laughs at it, then
he does.
that's good. All right, next one here. What if? Let's see. I saw one earlier. It was about the Saints. That was interesting. Oh, here's one. What if Hunt talks about Anthony Rizzo's retirement and what he? Okay, all right. Well, we're probably going to talk about that maybe on Take It or Leave It, but
I get emotional talking about that.
Yeah, no kidding. All right. Yeah, let's see. Oh yeah, here's what it was. What if Sean Payton stayed and Mickey Loomis left? How different would the Saints be now?
Very, very different. I just trust Sean Payton in all aspects far more than Mickey Loomis, and the more time they spend apart, the more evidence builds that Payton was doing all the good in the organization and Loomis was just riding along, because Peyton's already rebuilt that Denver roster with that front office and that organization ownership group into a real contender. And even though they don't have one of the best 10 quarterbacks in the league, I would argue, they're still a threat. And the Saints have not figured anything out at any position since Sean Payton left. I mean, I would suggest the Saints were pretty good in the defensive secondary for a few years after Payton left. But and Demario Davis is obviously a star, but that's not something that, I mean, he was there for Payton. So I think that Payton, this is not breaking news. There are probably a lot of people riding around like, obviously, and I would agree with that. Obviously, it had, but there's further evidence. The more decisions Mickey Loomis makes, and the more decisions Sean Payton makes as they're apart, the more you realize who was making the good calls in New Orleans.
All right, last one here. What if? Let's see, where was it? I just saw it. What if Elaine and Kramer dated? My goodness,
nobody can date Kramer.
There's no way.
I mean, as Jerry says in the show, I think he says 90-something% of society is undateable.
Yes.
And then George goes, how are all these people getting together? He goes, alcohol.
Yeah.
Which, you know, it's a tall percentage. But yeah, nobody can date Kramer. He's a goofball. He doesn't have a job.
Nope.
He is a lunatic. Tries ridiculous things that no one would ever try. Yeah, it wouldn't work.
No.
Elaine's got her quirks, but she could find a man theoretically.
Oh,
she
she's
needs to
found
get away
plenty
from,
of them. Yeah.
Get away from Putty,
Yes.
who was maybe the best character on the show.
Go Devils.
Devils. All right, let's talk about the LSU baseball schedule. Let me say this before we get into it. I have access to the clicks that our stories get on the site, and the amount of people that will still click on baseball stuff during the middle of football, it does surprise me. It really does surprise me. I know how passionate this fan base is for baseball. Trust me. Very few people have as good an idea about that as I do. But it's still impressive to me because there are probably 14 other schools in the SEC who you couldn't get to give a rip about baseball during August and September. This one still does, and I posted some thoughts on the LSU baseball schedule yesterday, and we posted the schedule release yesterday, and it went bonkers on the site. So that's good stuff. So let's talk about the LSU baseball schedule. I have a little bit of a different take on it than most. We'll do that when we come back.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
Renaissance Homes and Pools. Get in that pool of your dreams. Fall is coming, so this summer's in the rearview mirror. But you just spent this summer realizing how hot it is and how nice it would be to have that pool in your backyard. Make sure you don't go through another South Louisiana summer without your dream pool, without that outdoor kitchen. Go to builtbyrenaissance.com. They will customize a pool to exactly what you're looking for in that pool. No matter what stage you are in life, no matter what your family and friend situation looks like, they will make sure that you've got a pool that meets all of your needs. And the best part is Joey Blanchard is going to be by your side the entire time. Well, who's Joey Blanchard? Well, Joey Blanchard's the owner of the company. So you've got someone who is quite literally invested in what's going on out there. And it's going to make sure that he's there for the design, he's there for the dig, he's there for the fill, he's there for the finish, and he is going to be proud, and you are going to be proud of that work that gets done at your home. It's builtbyrenaissance.com. It's Renaissance Homes and Pools, builtbyrenaissance.com.
You're listening to The Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Renaissance Homes and Pools.
Closing up hour number one here. We'll talk some Florida Gators coming up in our next segment at the top of hour number two. We'll do that with Graham Hall from Swamp 24/7. Looking forward to that conversation. I'm curious about a number of things with Florida, but two injuries that have my attention for sure. One along the defensive line. They've got one of the best defensive tackles in the country in Caleb Banks, who has not played yet this season. I want to get an update on him. And then I just want to hear about DJ Lagway because it just doesn't feel like he's healthy, or maybe he's just really rusty from not practicing. We'll get all of Graham's thoughts on that in hour number two. LSU's baseball schedule was released in full yesterday, and I have my thoughts on it. I was asked twice about it yesterday, and the tone was like, it's a brutal schedule, huh? And like, yeah, I can make the case that it's like a really, really hard schedule. Like the road slate has some really difficult trips, no doubt. But you can't play a schedule in this league that doesn't have some really difficult road trips. Like Arkansas's schedule is a bit of an outlier, and I will absolutely grant you that. Arkansas does not play LSU. They don't play Texas. They don't play Tennessee. Like it's as advantageous as you can get. So it's literally possible to have an easier schedule than most. But for the most part, if you look around the league, you're going to have a tough schedule. It just is what it is. And it's baked into the formula for the RPI and for the selection committee. That's the reason the SEC got 6 teams in the top 8 last year. So look at this schedule. You play 5 at home, 5 on the road, and you miss 5. It's 5, 5, and 5. That's how the schedule is chopped up. So who's missing from your schedule? Well, you're not going to play Arkansas, and Arkansas is going to be good. I know they lost a ton. Gabe Gack will probably be the front of the rotation, but they're going to be good, and you don't play them. Texas, year 2 under Schloss, stands to reason they're probably going to be pretty good. Auburn had a stellar freshman class last year of position players, and you don't play them. They're probably going to be pretty good. And then you don't play Alabama, and you don't play Missouri. Bama's middle of the pack. Missouri's going to be the worst team in the league forever and ever, amen. To not have Missouri on the schedule is a bad thing. I realize we can make our jokes about what they did to Texas A&M, and they swept A&M in College Station last year. They also got swept 9 times. So not having Missouri, especially when you consider how big a deal we think conference wins are, is a big deal. So I will grant you that as well. But not playing Arkansas, Texas, and Auburn, that's something. You've got a home schedule that I believe LSU can make hay on, and I think LSU will win a ton of games at the box this year. You get Oklahoma at home. They lost Kyson Witherspoon. They lost his brother Malachi. They lost Cade Crossland. Like, they lost their weekend rotation. You lose a top 15 pick at Oklahoma, that's usually hard to recover from. Now, the Cubs have one who's dominating right now, and they got Kyson Witherspoon after him. So you can continue to get some guys, but like Oklahoma, I don't believe it's going to be great next year. Then you've got Kentucky coming to the box. I never believe in Kentucky's model and their ability. Like, I think they have limited pitching, limited power. We'll see what they are next year, but that's generally been the MO. LSU will have more talent than Kentucky. South Carolina comes here. Paul Maneri returns to Baton Rouge. They went nuts in the transfer portal, but their team this past year was atrocious, and they're going to be one of the worst teams in the league again, I think. I don't think they're just going to bring in all these transfers and automatically be a top 5-6 team in the SEC. I don't see it. I don't think they'll be very good. Texas A&M comes here. They lost Jace Laviolette. They lost Ryan Prager. They lost Justin Lampkin. They lost a couple really good bullpen pieces. They've got talent. Caden Sorrell is really good. And obviously, Gavin Grahovic coming back is really good. And Shadane Shadeo will come back, and he's probably the front of the rotation. Like, they've got talent, but I think their coach is way over his head. And we'll see what they are. They didn't make the tournament last year. They come to Baton Rouge. And then Florida comes here. You know what Florida's SEC record is in the last 2 years? Since they walked off the field in Omaha, losers in 2023. The last 2 years in the SEC, they're 28-32. Like, they just haven't been great the last 2 years. They did make Omaha 2 years ago, but they were a losing team in the Southeastern Conference and the last team in the tournament. So that's Oklahoma, Kentucky, South Carolina, A&M, and Florida at home. It's not a great home slate for you, the season ticket holder, not big on headlines. You should be able to win a lot of those 15 games. A lot of those 15 games. So I think that missing Arkansas, missing Texas, missing Auburn, and getting that group at home, that is advantageous. Now, yes, your road schedules are tough. Going to Knoxville is freaking brutal. This Mississippi State team is going to be very good. Going to that stadium is always brutal. And then you've got to go to Athens, where I don't know what they're going to be next year. They've continued to kind of overhaul that thing, and they've been a very offensive program under Wes Johnson. And when they are like that, they hit a ton of home runs in that little bitty ballpark. But again, they've had a lot of turnover, so I don't know exactly what that'll be. I don't think Ole Miss is going to be great. You go there, and I don't know about Vanderbilt either. They just haven't looked like Vanderbilt. I know they were the number 1 seed this past year, and I'm not going to dismiss that completely. I'm also not going to buy all the stock in it. I think they got hot late. They won a meaningless SEC tournament that jumped them over a couple of league teams they probably shouldn't have been over. And their strength of schedule was phenomenal. But yeah, I think Knoxville and Starkville and Athens are going to be tough places to play, and then Ole Miss and Vanderbilt, generally good environment, good talent. It's a tough road slate. But I think that if you start to pick away at this, and if you feel like LSU can win 10 of those 15 at home against some of those teams that I think are very manageable and that LSU can beat, the Kentuckys and Oklahomas and South Carolinas of the world, like you start to carve a pretty good path to trying to get home field through regional play, which is really the key. LSU shouldn't stare at any schedule with any sort of fear at all. You've got as good a program as there is in college baseball right now, as good a coach as there is in college baseball right now, and a great home field advantage. Every schedule in the SEC is tough, save Arkansas's next year, which is a joke. But I'm just not, I don't look at it as petrified as some people do because of what you get at home and what talent you have coming back on this team. So that's just my 2 cents on the schedule. They don't start fall practice for another 3 or 4 weeks, so still got some time before that cranks up. But always going to dip my toe in the baseball waters when that comes available. An LSU schedule is up. If you like to read my long-form thoughts, I've actually got some non-conference schedule thoughts up at LouisianaSports.net right now. So if you got some time today and want to go check that out, you can for free at LouisianaSports.net. It's titled 3 Thoughts, LSU's 2026 baseball schedule, and it's up there right now. So go check that out if you would like. All right, that's it for hour number 1. If you missed any of it, catch it on demand wherever you find your sound. Just search Hunt Palmer Show. If you like, subscribe, rate, review, we always appreciate that. I opened the show talking about Sydir Mitchell moving on from the football program and just how huge the hit rate has been in this transfer portal class. He's the one that really hasn't been. Jakeem Jackson, maybe the other to this point in time. I also talked about the Saints and safety. Jonas Sanker, Jordan Howden. Can those guys step in when given an opportunity they may not have seen coming their way 7 days ago? It's What If Wednesday. We got into a little bit of that. That's all in hour number 1. Hunt on Saints, Hunt on LSU is where you can find it. We'll pause for Sports Center, get you some national headlines. J.D. Piquel in 20 minutes talking national college football. Graham Hall from Swamp 24/7 talking Florida Gators as they get ready to head to Baton Rouge. We'll do that coming up next on the Hunt Palmer Show.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
Swing Easy Golf Club here in Baton Rouge. You want to work on your game, but it's tough to find the time. Weather's not conducive to it because it's so hot and you don't want to go hit golf balls on a driving range when it's 97 degrees outside or it rains every afternoon, but you'd like to get some work in. You can do it at Swing Easy Golf Club because they've got 3 indoor golf simulators that have got all the information necessary for you to work on your game. You set the driving range mode, you hit shots, you can see where they go, if they draw, hook, slice, fade. You can see what your ball speed is, how far the ball's carrying. You also got a great look at a slow-mo impact of your golf club as you make impact, and you can see where you're striking the ball. I found that to be really, really helpful when I went and checked it out a couple of weeks ago. If you're looking for an opportunity to have a spot to work on your game in a climate-controlled setting, Swing Easy Golf Club in Baton Rouge can do it. They're at Segan at Perkins. SwingEasyGCBR.com.